I just want to get this off my chest. It has been eating me up for the past 3 years, and I don't know how much longer I can endure this torture. Sometimes you just need someone to talk to. For most of my life, my mother raised me as a single mom. For years, she struggled to take care of me and keep food on the table, but she tried her best, and I will always be grateful to her for that. When I was a teenager, this man started visiting her all the time. It looked like he was interested in my mother, but she didn't want to accept him. Prior to meeting him, my mom had suffered many heartbreaks in the hands of men, and she didn't want to love again. But somehow this man was patient, and gradually my mom began to trust him. They got married when I was 19 years and I was on my way to technical university. It didn't take long for me to see how my stepdad was always looking at me. I should have told my mother earlier, but I didn't want to cause any problems in her marriage. My stepfather used to touch me in very inappropriate ways when my mom wasn't around. Then it went beyond that to him eventually telling me that I'm more beautiful and endowed than my mother, and he always imagines how sweet I'll be in bed. He had a very smooth tongue, and his words made me laugh all the time. He continued to make advances towards me, and the night he sneaked into my room to get intimate with me was the beginning of the tragedy that will befall us. Mom was a market woman, and she always left for the market early. My stepfather was an electrician, so he stayed home most of the time until someone called him for his services. This situation had it easy for us to do things that stepfathers and daughters shouldn't be doing. I enjoyed it. I really did. I'm not saying this because I'm proud of my actions. I'm just stating a fact for you guys to know that I'm not trying to play victim. The affair and sneaking around continued for years until one day, Mom was out as usual. It started out as a normal day. My stepdad did our usual thing, and he was particularly in the mood on that day. He started touching me, and by the time I realized, we were on their matrimonial bed doing all the wrong things. After the act, we were just lying on the bed and chatting, and then he started touching me in a way that suggested he wanted us to go another round. This man had a lot of energy and could go several rounds at a time. He got on top of me and we started going at it again. Then, just a few minutes later, my stepdad collapsed on me. He didn't make any sound or anything. He just dropped on me. I managed to push him off me, and his body just lied down by my side. I did what I could do to revive him, but he was not responsive. I checked his pulse and I heard nothing. He was also not breathing. I dressed as fast as I could and stepped out. I knew my mom would come early that day, and I was panicking, not knowing what to do. I was planning to go and ask our next door neighbors for help. Then my mom just returned. She saw me in the living room and asked about my stepdad. I lied that he said he was going to take a nap in his room. My mom went into their room and started screaming. After a few minutes, I had to play along and pretend. I didn't know what was happening. Long story short, he was buried the following month. Doctors did an autopsy and it came out that he died of high blood pressure. My mom kept saying that he hated his blood pressure medications and it has caused his death. But I knew the real truth of how he had died. For several months after his death, I kept dreaming about him being on top of me and suddenly collapsing. He died 3 years ago, and I have kept this secret with me. There is no way I can tell anyone in my family about the events that led to his death. The pain and burden has been very heavy on my chest, and I haven't been happy in my life since then. I became so sad and depressed around that time that I lost my job and just spent most of my time at home. I wrote many letters for employment, but none even called me for an interview. My mom suggested I help her in the market, and I started going for a while, but it wasn't for me and I stopped. I also left home because I can't stand the memory of my stepdad's death even after all these years. I have moved in with my boyfriend and he is the one taking care of me now. How do I forget such a painful memory? Please advise me on what to do.